Hello, guys, and welcome to the first ever episode of Voices from the Inkwell. I am one of your hosts, Mike Skinner,
I'm Gabe.
and together we're going to be taking you on an amazing journey through Lorcana. This is something that Gabe and I have been talking about doing for quite some time, and it's just never quite, come together. However, we have both agreed that it's something that was, long time in the making. And Gabe, I'm excited we're finally getting to sit down and have a little bit of a conversation.
I am too. Like it's funny because like we've known each other just through the course of this game, and I think from the very first time I met you, like I just connected with you right away. So I thought it was always a very natural thing to do, and it was just awesome the energy that we had. So I'm actually really excited to see what comes of this, to see if we can maybe learn a little bit about the game, maybe learn a little bit about some of the players, and help build a community which is really what I love about the game the most, is like
For sure.
community and supporting them.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely, and I couldn't agree more. Obviously we met through Lorcana, and we were always good friends, but I always wanted to do a podcast, and I was always like, man, do I want to do it on my own? Like, it's hard to find somebody who's committed, that's gonna mesh with me, that's gonna feed off of me. And once you and I were able to have the pleasure of sharing the booth together over at the SSG events, I think it's when I really realized, like, oh yeah, me and him, we kind of we mesh. We have a good
Yeah.
chemistry, and it made it pretty easy for me to ask you if you wanna do the thing, and here we are doing the thing. So super happy we're finally getting it recorded, and hoping that we can stay consistent with it and make this an ongoing thing. So if you guys are watching, welcome to technically an episode 0, right? That we're just kind of testing the waters here. I know Gabe and I both want a lot of different things out of this podcast. Me myself personally, as Gabe mentioned, really want to grow the community and whatnot, and I would really want to have guests on here, have fun segments that we can play with our guests, not just talking deck lists all the time. I want to be able to have some fun. There's a lot of amazing things in Lorcana to talk about, and yeah, that's pretty much what I'm looking to get out of it. And you Gabe, I know you touched a little bit about what you were looking to get out of, but any other things you're looking forward to on the show?
Yeah, I mean, so I think that there's a lot of content out there. There's a lot of people that are out there that are talking about Lorcana in very similar ways, and I think that I want to be able to talk about Lorcana, talk about the community, and to talk about what we do in a way that's a little bit different. I think there's an opportunity to show that playing card games is actually pretty cool. I think there's it feels like
Finally,
it's somewhat cool.
took long enough.
Yeah,
I was the
it's
uncool kid
somewhat
for many
cool
years before I became the
for
cool one.
real. That's what I'm saying, and I think the more people can see that the people that are in that community are just totally chill people, just people that you would want to hang out with. Maybe go out and have dinner with somebody, or just to hang out. I think the more you can see people in that light, versus always seeing them as these competitors that all they do is they talk about specific cards and
Hmm.
specific play lines. We have plenty of that, I think, out there.
For sure.
I think really the place where we bring something different is we can bring a little bit of light to just kind of like the competition, to say, hey, there's more to it than just that.
For sure.
Maybe there's a little bit of drama too. Who knows? But
Who knows? Who knows?
who
Anything
knows?
is possible.
Yeah,
I
exactly,
couldn't agree
exactly.
more. I couldn't agree more. Well, that's a little bit about us. We are both avid Lorcana players. Gabe and I actually kind of became friends because we're both avid uh, Emerald Amethyst enjoyers. We are both team green purple, and I don't know where you're headed for Jafar, but we could talk about that later. But I'm still trying to stick to my colors, sticking with the green purple for now. But yeah, speaking of getting into Reign of Jafar and all this kind of stuff, we just had set champs. It's been going on for 2 weeks now, I believe. 2 weeks.
This is the
Second,
third week.
third
This is the
week.
third week.
Wow, time
Yeah,
flies.
we've got 1 week left. We got
Okay,
1 week left.
so you could tell that I haven't been to any because I don't even know what week we're on. Been very busy, unfortunately, on the weekends, and hoping to make it out to the SSG one next week, and
Ooh,
cooking up a
me too.
little
I'll be there.
cooking up a little something for that. But Gabe, you had the opportunity to play in one this weekend. Oh,
Yes, I got, well, two actually. So I played at Tate's over. For those of you that know where that is, it's over in Davie. So I
okay.
played in Tate's.
Yep.
That's not where I won this one. In Tate's, I got clapped.
You got
To be quite
clapped.
frank,
Were you
I got
you were
clapped.
playing a different deck, correct?
So I was on Saturday. I was playing Ruby Amethyst. It's the deck that I played for the ICL.
Okay.
I've put the most reps in it. So as Skinner's mentioning, I'm an Emerald Amethyst player, and when they announced rotation, I decided that before the meta decks get rotated out. I never played Ruby Amethyst, and I've never played Steel Song. I never cared enough to play them.
Mm-hmm.
So one of my teammates on the Illuminati, huge Steel Song player, kind of helped me put together a deck. And that's like a future project. But I was really focused on Ruby Amethyst. It's very forgiving. It lets you do board wipes and stuff. So I figured that'd be the way to go. So Saturday I played. I got a winning in. Had I won my game, I would have been in the top 8. And man, I got smacked by a Blurple Jafar that was running Royal Tantrum. So what it does is, yes, it was sick. So what it does basically, like, it's worse than Red Blue in terms of setup. It was curving out items. It would curve out items instead of characters, with the exception of things that would deal with the board very minimally.
Right.
But the player did not care that I got to 16 or 17. His goal was to get down as many items as possible. Multiple fishbone quills, multiple amethyst coils to draw, both of us drawing as many cards as we could. And then he would get to a final turn where he finally had enough ink to do it. He would play Croquet Mallet and all of these blue and purple items that give characters rush. So he would play the Jafar. He would rush the Jafar. It would attack something. It would be exerted. And then he would tap all the amethyst coils, draw 3. With whatever characters he had out, sing friends, Royal Tantrum. I pop all 17 of my items. And yes, that's a real number. That's how many he popped on me, to draw 17 to win the game in literally one turn.
17. Wow, I thought getting 14 by Jafar at the first DLC was pretty bad, but 17, that's a number. That's a number for sure.
It's a number.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was depressing.
So somebody took what was already a crazy idea of Blurple Jafar and took it to the next level, and so we're gonna Royal Tantrum as well. So did that player make it to top 8? Do you know?
They made it to top. Yes, they did that, because it was both of our winning ins. Okay. So he needed to win it as much as I did. So he got into top 8, but ultimately the person that won that one was Wochuk. Of course. Wochuk.
That guy, Wochuk.
That dastardly man.
That beautiful basketball shorts wearing little boy.
Oh, God. Yeah, absolutely.
So you didn't go your way on Saturday,
nope.
But then you said, okay, let's run it back on Sunday.
Yeah, and, I was going to run it back on Sunday.
Talk to me about Sunday.
Yeah, so I was going to run it back on Sunday. I got my reps in with Ruby Amethyst. I felt comfortable. I knew it could win. I had my winning in, and the winning just didn't go my way. It was a crazy deck. So I was going to go into Sunday, and I was going to play my Ruby Amethyst deck, going into an unknown field. So I went to Tower of Games. Great store, by the way, Tower of Games in Boca Raton. If you ever have a chance to go out there and visit them, it is awesome. Okay. They've got like D&D rooms and like 40K tables. It's cool stuff. Yeah.
Oh,
anyway,
a little far from me.
So I'll
have to check it out.
Yeah. So I go there, and I'm there with one other teammate, with Monty. For those of you who know, you know. And we get round 1 pairings. So I sit down in front of somebody who's a part of the community, Carlos Valina. He's on Twitter, so you should follow him. Very nice dude. So I get paired up into Carlos Valina. I sit down. I pull out my deck box. I shuffle up my deck. I hand the deck to my opponent. He cuts it, hands it back. I draw 7 cards, and I realize that I'm not looking at Ruby or Amethyst cards in my hand. I'm looking at Amber Steel Song. It's the second deck that Freddie made me build that I was like gonna play at some point. And I had to decide, either I have to explain to my opponent that I pulled out the wrong deck, or I just play with it, because he literally cut it. I drew, and it was the most awkward situation ever.
Oh no.
It was so bad. It was so bad. So that round 1 game was really embarrassing. I've only ever played like three games with that deck. When I played them, my initial instinct was, it's not my style. I don't like it. So I was gonna like take it home and break it up.
Right.
Like that's where I was at with that deck.
Sure.
And so like I'm looking at these 7 cards, and I go, okay, this is a sign. So maybe I stick with it, but also there's no way in hell I'm gonna tell Carlos what just happened. That's just weird. So instead, I say, forget it. We're gonna play it. So I mulligan. Don't know what the heck I'm mulliganing for, and I'm so nervous, and I'm so like thrown by the mistake. I'm trying to attack ready characters. Like I'm literally telling Carlos, "Hey, I want to attack that character." He's like, "Dude, it's ready." And I go, "Oh my God, I'm sorry." Like I'm like apologizing. It was like I was like a new player. He was walking me through how to play the game. I was so thrown for it, and yeah, he took care of me pretty quickly.
Oh God.
So I was like, man, this is gonna be the quickest tournament I've ever been to. and I'll just go home and I'll lick my wounds or whatever. So I'm 0-1. I go through and I just don't stop. I don't stop winning. Round 2, I get paired into a red steel deck. Nice guy, great deck. But I start to like think about the patterns. Game 3, I get paired into Blurple, which is a great matchup for Amber Steel.
Regular Blurple?
Amber Steel loves. Yeah, pretty standard Blurple. Yeah, nothing too crazy.
No Jafar, no tantrums.
No Jafars, nothing like that. Just trying to tap things and just dealing, ramping really quickly, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Beat that one pretty easily, 2-0. Round 4 is a second Blurple. So I've had like three great testing great testing matches where something in my brain unlocks and I go, oh, I get this now. Like I needed those matches to unlock how the deck worked.
Of course.
And then I get,
that'd be nice,
yeah.
right?
So like that was the moment for it. Yes.
Well,
so I go and I'm like,
steel, which that potentially is kind of a rogue. Could be disastrous, but at least you got to kind of ease in. You didn't get hit by like some crazy super net deck in your second round or anything. It kind of gave you time to learn the deck, so that's good.
It did. And so I was able to make it all the way through. I boomeranged. I literally boomeranged from 0-1. I was forced to play my round 5 matchup because that person had ID'd in a very weird way. Played them, was able to beat them, and that put me literally first in Swiss. So now you've got me with seeding first.
So there was no undefeated. There was no undefeated in the tournament.
They had ID'd, because they were IDing, it allowed me to propel. Gotcha. So the ones that were undefeated ID'd starting in round 4. So they ID'd round 4, they ID'd round 5.
All right.
So they hurt themselves by doing that because I was forced to play. And then so top 8 was Monty. He's playing red, yellow, Mufasa, as if anybody's in the chat knows. It was those 2 matches. We went 1-1, and the second match he didn't draw what he needed, and I was able to deal with him.
For sure.
Top 4, I got to play Carlos again. So the guy who was holding my hand in round 1, who was being very sweet to me, poor Carlos. I turn around, I said, brother, I've had 20 games with this deck. You're done. You're cooked. And so I sat down with Carlos and we fought it out. It was so hard. And then top 2 was me and Mike Sr. And man, that was one heck of a fight. Let me tell you what. And at the very end of it, what got Mike Sr. was he was forced, because I was controlling his board so well, he was forced to hard cast a whole new world, and he revealed 2 other whole new worlds in his hand. And at that point, I just knew, I'm like, he was put in a bad spot, and I just took advantage, and I said, this is my game. I knew from that moment.
The Sisters of Fate were on your side, brother. They came out, and you went from an 0-1 all the way to a tournament dub. Congratulations. That's really amazing. And a deck that you were not experienced with.
No.
I wish I could give you your props. I think that Steel Song is a pretty face roll deck.
Yes,
but it does have a high ceiling, so I'm not trying to take anything away from you, but
absolutely,
it's us green purple players, and we get to hold all of a sudden all this power, we don't know what to do with it. So I'm glad that you were able to contain it and use it to your abilities to take down that tournament. So
I felt like Deadpool and Wolverine at the end of the movie, holding hands and holding on to.
You were hearing like a prayer with the when you come. That's awesome. That's
exactly what was going on. I was nuts.
So you mentioned you're going to play next week in the SSG one as well. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
You're going to try to go dream crush me. I see how it is.
How it is. And I think
are you I have to. Are you going to hand a random deck to your first opponent, and that's what you're going to play, or?
No, you know what? I think I'm going to try Steel Song again. I'm like, it worked, right? Like, how are you going to not do the thing that worked? I think you got to do it again. You got to roll it back.
He got to take. You ever watch Lord of the Rings, dude? You put the ring on one time, and it's like, ooh,
precious, my precious.
The ring is kind of nice, though. Yeah, well, good luck. Congratulations again on your victory this weekend. I wanted to talk a little bit about set champs in general. First of all, I haven't been to one, so this is totally on whatever you're telling me here. But how have you noticed the crowd-wise? Has it been, a lot of newer players? Have you been seeing pretty much the same old players? What's the vibe been, in your opinion, with the 2 set champs that you went to?
So that's a great question. The 2 that I went to had at least 20 players. Tate's had just mid 25-ish.
That's pretty good.
And it's not bad. I will say that a third to close to half of the players are brand new players, which is telling me that the conversation around rotation and this idea that the game's kind of getting ready to start again, that seems to be bringing people in. Like I met a lot of new players
That's
this
awesome.
weekend,
Yeah.
which is I think super cool. And then the other half are the usual crowds, people that are just wanting to play somewhat competitively. So in terms of number of people, it's where it's at.
It's pretty good.
There are a lot of people joking about doing the thing though.
The thing.
Doing the thing.
Yeah. Wanted to talk about that thing, and I'm happy to
Yeah.
see that your mat is in one piece. You were able to bring it
Yes.
home in the packaging. It's very impressive. There has been a bit of a trend, and I don't think it's a malicious trend, but
I don't either.
something that has been kind of, I don't want to say stirring up the space because nobody's really upset about it, and I'm not really even upset about it. But something that I definitely want to talk about in the community, and that's essentially destroying prizes, right? Like just taking apart, like everybody's cutting up mats right now, taking the Hero Hamada mat and slicing it up. But we've never seen anybody really do this, right? We've had multiple set champs. The prizes are always pretty sought after. Maybe sans like one set champs, like the Mirabelle one was kind of a low, kind of But other than that, I mean, even that mat didn't get cut up in pieces, right? So,
Correct.
what are your thoughts on people dicing up these mats? Do you think it's in good taste? Do you think it's a way to show that these prizes really are not good enough? Or is it, what are your thoughts on the whole situation?
That's a yeah. So here are my thoughts. If you and your friends want to cut up a mat, cut up the mat. Have a good time. Enjoy it. If the 8 people want to make a moment out of it, then do that. If you don't want to cut up the mat, don't cut up the mat.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool too.
Mm-hmm.
You do what you want to do. What I will say though is it does say something. And the one thing I would hate to see is Ravensburger coming out and being like, man, look at what an awesome thing these players are doing. Because the reason why they're doing it is because they don't want the other 7 people to feel bad.
Mm-hmm.
So what's happening is these players are being put in a position where to make everybody feel good about this moment because the pricing is not adequate. They're put in a position where they're like, well, I don't want to make other people feel bad. So let's just agree to cut this thing up and it'll be a cute moment and we can take a picture of this memory, which again is a cool thing. I actually think it's cool. And one of the things I love about Lorcana is that the community finds a way to fill the gap for problems that happen within the game.
Sure.
At the beginning of the game, where when there was little distribution, there was ways to play online to support that. When we got into the end of the season, you got SSG, you got all these other people that are coming through with major tournaments. This is just another way that people that are in the community are trying to fill a void that Ravensburger has left by removing the second place mat that they should not have done, and by not offering in pricing that kind of tiers. So something different for the top 8, something slightly different for top 4, and then the 2 players get player 1 and player 2 mats. If they did that, you would not see it. Mirabelle didn't get chopped up. Why not?
Mm-hmm.
Because there was 2 mats. You didn't have to chop it up. So,
Sure.
yeah,
Sure.
I think doing it is fine. If you want to do it, I get it. It's cool. But it's kind of a black eye to Ravensburger that they have to do it.
Sure. So I agree with a lot of your points. I disagree with some of them, but we can kind of get into it. So I don't think cutting up the mats is I really want to make sure everybody's included kind of stance. I think that's a really awesome way to think about it, and I appreciate that you have a heart of gold and you think that we're just doing it because we want everybody to be included. It could be that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm the one that's wrong, but I bet you nobody would be cutting up the Maleficent mat come Fabled, right?
Hell no.
Why? But why? Why don't you want to be inclusive? Don't you want to help your friends? It's in the 8th place. Don't you want to help them, Gabe?
No.
Right?
That's why I didn't cut up my mat, bro.
So so it gets tricky there. Like, yeah, you're trying to be nice and stuff, but it's because you don't care about the pricing, right? The amount of time invested in a top 8, hours of time for one person in the whole top 8 to get a different pricing than the other 7 is the reason why people are cutting up mats, right? The time putting in, your time you're putting in is just not worth that. So what's happening is a lot of people are just saying, "Oh, we got top 8, we got our things, let's scoop it up." And nobody can decide how we're gonna do the mat. So all right, let's just cut it up and we'll make it into a little token of our tournament, and we'll call it a day. And I think that's fine. You know, if that's the way you want to do it. I talked to Liam from the Illumineers about it a little bit online, and he sees it like a little bit of a relic, like as a memory, like, oh my God, like we all shared this together. And again, I think that's an awesome way to think about it. And if you think about it that way, you know, so be it. Cut up all the mats you want. But to me, I hate to see it. You know, I'd rather see the mat be raffled off to somebody who got last place in the tournament. You know, like some people will never see a mat. I talk to people all the time, say I've never top 8 at an event, never top 8, I've never gotten a promo, I gotta buy them online. And that sucks, right? Like there's a lot of people in the community that do put in the time, and you know they just never you never are able to get there, you know. So I think be cooler to see something more productive done with the mats than just ripping them up into 8 pieces. Again, I understand it, I get it, it's cool, it's funny, but now it's just like every picture is the same thing, and I just, you know, I don't know. I feel kind of strangely about cutting up cards. I'm the same way with, like, it's not just mats. Like people who rip cards up and stuff like that. Like I just don't like it. I don't know. There's a lot of kids out there that don't have these things, and I don't want to get into like a whole, you know, the poor children. You know, I don't want to get into that whole thing, but it's true. Like we shouldn't be just like
The children.
yeah, like that's like destroying action figures. Like why not just give them to somebody else? Like, you know, like I don't know. I just see things a little differently. But again, you know, to each their own. I don't have any beef with people for cutting up their mats if that's what you feel like you want to do. But I think it's definitely a sign that the pricing just is not worth the time invested. Right? It's just not. It's just inadequate. Right? So I'm hoping to see, you know, the next set with Jafar coming out. I think personally the mat is really nice. Still wishing there was a second place mat. I'm on board with that you said. I'm a big believer that the second place mat is necessary. However, we'll see what Ravensburger decides there. But yeah, I'm hoping that this mat cutting thing kind of comes to an end here. If it doesn't, you know, if that's what makes people happy, so be it. But just something that kind of thought was interesting for conversation since it's the first time we've ever seen it.
Yeah, I think that I think there's a part of what you're saying too. So I don't entirely disagree with your sentiment. I get that perspective too. It's just I think it's a little bit. I think it's a little bit of what we're discussing here. I don't think there's any one real right answer. I think there's a number of things that are happening.
For sure. And
So
I don't think they're doing it to be malicious, to be like,
right.
aha, I ripped up this mat, haha. Like it's not being done in that way. But you know, the first time I saw it, I was like, wow, that's kind of crazy. And then the second time I saw it, I was like, okay. And then the third time, and then the fourth time, and then the fifth, and then it's like, okay, so we're just cutting the mats up now. Like that's just what we're doing. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It is what it is, but just maybe something that it'll be interesting to see in the future how these set champs are taken, and if people, you know, you had good attendance, so clearly people are interested in playing the event. It's just kind of interesting that people are not interested in you know, the prizing for first place. So.
Yeah. And I'll tell you that in both tournaments, people recommended cutting up the mats.
Did they really?
In both instances, yes. In both instances, somebody was like, "Nah, I want the mat."
What?
So, and they had to play it
Were
out.
you the I want the mat guy in your group?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gabe.
I was the jerk. Yeah.
You
Sorry.
know, take a stand. Take a stand for the mat people, man.
I mean, I love Baymax though. That's the thing. Like, I wanted my Baymax. I wanted my Hero Hamada mat.
It's,
You know.
it's awesome. I think it's a cool mat. But
I think so too.
is it the coolest mat we've seen? No. Is it the coolest mat
That's right.
we're gonna get? I don't think it's cooler than the Jafar mat. I don't think it's cooler than eventually the Maleficent mat that we're gonna get. That's gonna be absolutely bananas. If we still are only getting one mat, that's gonna be a process. So,
Yeah.
But yeah,
Skinner, here's a problem I got for you though. Like, I was getting roasted because since I've been commentating, everyone's telling me I'm cooked. I'm a commentator. I'm cooked. Listen. I got mine. I need you to get yours, bro. So you got to go to one if you can and try to get this one.
I got two last season. Okay, I got two Scar mats last season. I had to pull up and tell people, you know, there's a reason why they locked me up, right? I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me, right? One of those.
That's right. You got to get in where you fit in.
So next week I'm gonna do my one and done at SSG. It's gonna be a crazy packed house. SSG is going bananas as usual on their prize support. I don't even know what it's at. I don't even want to know what it's at. It's going to be crazy. So I know everybody will be there, and it's going to be a hard one to take down. So I'm going to be interested to see how that goes, and I'm looking forward to seeing you there and all my other friends that are going to be there. And then the week after that, we have Reign of Jafar release weekend, which is a great segue into our next topic, which is Reign of Jafar. So Reign of Jafar, we're having a huge event over at SSG Southside Gaming. Um, I mean, enormous. It's an 8 case and it's still scaling of Jafar, Reign of Jafar cards, and the new set is legal, right? So this has kind of
Nope.
become a standard for us. We've been always doing these day one events with all new cards legal. I know some people at first were kind of hesitant about it because they're like, "How are you gonna do these events and not give people time?" But people have been loving them. People get that taste. Like when that new set comes out, you're so thirsty for like what the new texts are gonna look like, right? Like who's crafting, like who's come up with something cool. And I feel like that's the first time we really get to see it is that day. And yeah, I mean, there's been a birth of many cool decks. Diggy Diggy Hole probably being the biggest one. The birth of that deck, Brennan Candia, was at our one of our first events, or was the first event I believe we did. So yeah, just awesome. Love those kind of events, and really looking forward to Reign of Jafar in general. What are your thoughts, Gabe, on Reign of Jafar and the couple weekends we have coming up?
I'm excited. I'm excited to see what crazy stuff happens because you forgot another deck that was invented on a release weekend, which was Zan with his crazy blue steel deck that he brought.
That is true.
So we've now have two decks that, and mind you, I'm just saying the reason why Fortisphere and Hiram got banned started at SSG. That's all I'm saying.
You're not wrong.
So
You're not wrong.
just so wait, we're gonna see whatever the next big thing is gonna be coming up at Reign of Jafar. I think that the event's gonna be great. I'm excited to cast it with you.
Absolutely.
I'm excited for the set. I think it's a cool set. I do think it's a pretty cool set.
Yeah, we talked a little bit.
Great cards.
You could be honest. We talked a little bit before the podcast started about the set, and you said that you didn't diss the set or anything like that, but you feel like there's not too many cards that are impactful pre-rotation. Is that correct?
Yeah, like I'm not the only one saying it. There's a few people that have the same vibe. I'm hearing the phrase "this will be crazy." After rotation.
Sure.
Everyone's saying it. Like everyone's saying it.
Right.
And yeah, I mean that's kind of my vibe too. Like after when we rotate out a lot of the stuff that's just really really strong. When you think about Steel Song and how it's been where it's been for so long, just or Ruby Sapphire rather, all that kind of stuff. When the things that make those decks insane get cycled out, there is so much room for creativity. There's going to be so much shifting along what color combinations are in what tiers, and I'm stoked about that. I cannot wait.
Yeah, that's good.
So post rotation, I think it's gonna be even better.
I am
But yeah,
incredibly like I really want to start crafting post rotation decks already, but it's so hard until we know what they're reprinting. So it's so hard, but I'm really looking forward to seeing what the game looks like post rotation. Are they willing to make reprints of all the key cards, or are they willing to really strip away all the things that we thought we got so comfortable with? It's going to be really interesting to see how they decide to divvy that up. But before we get into Fabled, Fabled is still a ways away. We have Reign of Jafar first, and I know we spoke a little bit about being excited for it. However, I wanted to go ahead and just go back and forth here and get your thoughts on maybe a couple of your favorite cards, 2 or 3 of your favorite cards. So you can go first if you like, and then I'll go second. And let's just kind of talk about what cards stand out to you and what you're thinking.
yeah, for sure. And I listen. I like to pick the unusual picks, so you can meme me if you want. I don't care. But for my first pick, this one's gonna be a spicy one. I know, but I'm going with
Try
Monstro.
not to laugh because you've already. Oh, Monstro! You're starting with Monstro. Yeah. Okay, all right.
Yeah, I'm starting with Monstro,
Okay.
Infamous Whale.
Okay, start with Monstro.
We're looking at an 8 cost character. It's got Rush. It has got 6 Strength, 8 Willpower, and a Quest for 2. And it has the ability Full Breach, choose and discard a card, ready this character. He can't quest for the rest of the turn.
Mm.
And I really like this card because it gives Amethyst a quasi board wipe.
Yep.
It gives them something that they're not forced to play red or Ruby to do. So now you can put this in something like Sapphire, Amethyst. It can ramp to this, so it can do this earlier than a Be Prepared, and kind of do what the Scar does, but sooner. I think it's pretty cool. I think it changes the way you see that color pairing of like Sapphire or Blurple. Let's just call it Blurple.
Sure.
It changes Blurple in a lot of various ways.
It kind of reminds me of not to cut you off. It kind of reminds me of the Maui Whale. I know for a very brief moment in time we were doing that thing where we would just exert it, unexert it, just to kind of bash through all these locations and things like that, and it was just like a huge body. It didn't last super long, but this kind of gives me those vibes, and
Yeah.
they're both whales, so I think it's very similar vibes. But yeah, I agree with you. Being able to just create this. Number one, it creates a discard engine, right? Because you're discarding cards from your hand to do it. So if you have in the future some form of way, like we're seeing cards like Stitch right now, where they want to be in your discard, or Lilo that they want to be in your
Yeah.
discard. So he also gives you kind of a way to empty your hand. So that also could be part of a strategy. So I think that card's actually super interesting. I think that's a great pick on your part. I think something that maybe a lot of people are overlooking. Everybody's looking at the shiny new cards, but I think Monstro is actually a really good pick.
Thank you. What's your first pick?
First pick for me, it's gonna be a little more mainstream. Not as I'm not as indie as you, bro. I'm not as hip. But I am going with Into the Unknown. Into the
Ooh.
Unknown.
Yeah.
I have a video today. I actually just made a video earlier today talking about all the enchanteds in the set. And man, this card just checks all the boxes, right? Like this card is removal. This card is a song. This card can be sung by a 3-cost character, which is incredibly relevant when you play Bell in your deck. This card is ramp if you need it to be. You could target yourself and ramp it. This card is inkable, right? This card has Elsa on it, which is that's super relevant in this game because people love Elsa, and we're getting an incredible enchanted as well. So for all of those reasons, I think this card just checks all the boxes. In my opinion, the enchanted will be the most expensive card in the set. I was saying a little bit. I don't want to reiterate my whole video, but essentially, when you think about set one, right? Do you when you think Brave Little Tailor or Elsa, like which is more iconic? And it's Elsa.
It's
It's
also it's
Elsa.
also
It's Elsa by a long
yeah.
shot. And Mickey Mouse is incredibly iconic, and BLT is an amazing card and all that. But when you think set one and you want to think like Charizard, right? You're thinking Elsa, right? So I
Yeah.
think for all of these reasons, Into the Unknown is just the perfect storm, no pun intended, for just an absolute banger of a card. Blurple's already on the rise. We have you playing Monstro apparently in the Blurple deck, so
Believe it.
Into the Unknown is going to be an absolute powerhouse, and I think that's a card that we're going to be seeing played until it rotates.
Absolutely. I don't disagree with you at all. I think it's the strongest inclusion for a no, that's not true. I think there's one other dual ink card that is probably stronger than it. Unfortunately, the color pairing still needs help. And of course, I'm talking it's not one of my cards, but I'm talking about Ludwig von Drake.
Sure,
That to me is like the single best card
that could have
that
easily
came
been
out
on
this
my
set.
list. Could have easily been on the list. Yeah, that's another one. Yeah,
I just wish it was in a different color pairing.
I get
But
it.
I mean, I mean, it needs it. It needs it.
But
So
I like.
either
I
way,
also like before we get into your next pick. I do like that. They're giving cards to these off color. I mean, eventually these color pairings do need to exist, right? So they do need
yeah,
to give them good cards. So I know it sucks because it's like, oh, why'd they give it to that color? Why didn't they give it to a relevant color? It's because they're trying to make that color relevant, So
yeah.
maybe eventually people will play Amber. I'm so bad with the things. Amber Sapphire. I always say blue yellow. Amber Sapphire. Maybe that will be a mainstay. Maybe that'll be just like a red purple deck in the future, just like a normal variation. Red steel also. So I think that these are all cards that post rotation are going to be very important and something to keep an eye on. But let me not take up any more of your time. Get to number two, Gabe. What is your number two pick for cards you're excited about in this new set?
Yeah, so my number two pick is got to be the new Captain Hook, the Pirate King, 5 cost, 4 strength, 5 willpower. It quests for 2. It is a Floodborn character that shifts for 3, and it has the ability give them all you got. Once during your turn, whenever an opposing character is damaged, your pirate characters get +2 strength and gain resist 2 this turn. The set after we just got Pete Space Pirate, those two cards together are going to be a complete monstrous combination to deal with. You play Hook on 1, you play Pete on 3, and now you can shift one of 2 giant monsters, and then the following turn you follow it up with another giant monster. Stop singing from happening. You've got pirates with resist 4 with multiple strength. I think pirates are going to be extremely relevant this set. I think Green Steel is going to see the biggest change, the biggest metamorphosis that any color pairing will get. I think we're going to see players that are we're starting to see it now too. like these action-based non-discard green steel decks, they're starting to come out.
Sure.
I think that Captain Hook solidifies that shift and says, hey, green steel can be a discard deck, but we've got something even cooler than that.
Sure.
And so maybe you don't need to be a discard deck.
I like that. Yeah.
So,
I think that a lot of colors now are finding their identities elsewhere. A long time, there was one deck per color combination that you knew if your opponent's playing these two colors, they're most likely playing this deck. And Amber Steel has managed to really break away from that. Red Blue, in a sense, has kind of broken away from that, although they're both control versions. We have like Shark versus pure Tamatoa Dime combo. Blue Steel, obviously, we have the wheel versions and we have the aggro version. So everything's starting to kind of find multiple homes. And I definitely think that that's definitely a card that, I hope Pirates are eventually good enough. I don't know if we'll ever get just maybe an Infinity, one day when we have 1 billion Pirates, there'll be some super sick Infinity Pirate deck. Because it just has all these SME and all these OP Pirates that don't get reprinted. I think that's a cool idea and something to be excited for in the future. But I also love that the Hook you chose has an enchanted version. Which is a really awesome and looking enchanted, in my opinion. I think it's one of the better ones in the set. So, yeah, awesome pick as well. My second pick is I'm kind of cheating. It's the pull the lever combo, right? So it is technically 3 parts, right? There's a pull the lever card, there's a wrong lever card, and then there's an Yzma. Personally, not super high on the Yzma, right? Yzma's uninkable. She's a little clunky. Her effect is, not really worth all the work, in my opinion. But I am very high on pull the lever and wrong lever. I think both those actions have potential to be impactful. Pull the lever allowing you to do either a discard or a draw two. So it's kind of like half of Friends and then half Hypnotize or Sudden Chill. Not quite as good as either one because one's not a song and so on and so forth. But just the option, right? In whatever scenario you're in, if you draw it off the top and your opponent's got 1 card in hand, you have that option. You want to snipe it or do you want to draw 2? That kind of option, 2 cards in 1 essentially, is really nice. It's almost like you're drawing 2 cards for that turn, right? You get to choose which one you play. Magic had stuff like that, split cards that you could pay both costs and play both cards, which this is not quite that. But I think that it's a cool start that we're getting these dual ink cards that have both identities. Which we do see a lot of those. And then obviously wrong lever, incredibly powerful, allowing you to either bounce something back to their hand, like Weather Knows Best, or just completely bottom decking the card altogether, which is incredibly powerful if you have pulled the lever in your deck. So, I think there are going to be cool ways to manipulate it, maybe with a discard, Diablo style deck where you can pitch these actions early, pitch the pull the lever into your discard pile, and then potentially wrong lever somebody, shuffle it back in. I don't know. Whether or not it's going to be good, we don't know yet, but I think it's a cool moving, combo piece and potentially a good removal. I feel like we've needed some other actions. I've been playing green-purple discard a lot of this format, and I think we're playing Improvise, and we're playing subpar, Hypnotize is not the best card either, and I think it's just because we don't have really good actions to play with. So this is an opportunity for us to get some good ones, I think. And yeah, I'm excited to see if they're viable or just a meme. We'll see.
Speaking of memes, I want to talk to you about my number 3 card.
Hit me.
I say this with all.
I'll have to look this one up.
Go ahead.
For those who don't know, Gabe and I, we did quickly discuss before the stream, just so we didn't pick the same cards, right? So I'll try not to laugh on this one because I was quite shocked. Okay. But hit me, Gabe. What card are we talking about?
Okay. So hey, let me set it up. Okay, let me do a little bit of setup here.
Set me up.
So something that I really value in Lorcana is the ability to garner lore when you are put in a position where questing may not be feasible. And sometimes that might mean that you'll need to kamikaze some characters. And so the card that I'm choosing for my number 3 card is a green pigeon known as Vinny the green pigeon. And Vinny is a 3-cost uninkable. He has got 1 strength and he's got 4 willpower, and he has the ability learning experience during an opponent's turn. Whenever one of your other characters is banished, you gain a lore. So if you put this character down and you go wide with this, and your opponent decides that they want to board wipe you, and you're late enough in the game, think about green purple.
Think about it.
Imagine this and imagine. I'm sorry. Think
Imagine
about.
this
Or
in
rather,
green
I'm sorry.
purple.
No, I'm sorry. I'm purple steel. Purple. I meant purple steel. Sorry,
Okay.
totally messed that up.
Okay. Okay.
Imagine this in amethyst steel, where you've got goats down, you've got Vinny down, you've got rabbits down. You're just punishing the ever loving you know what out of your opponent for dropping a be prepared or any other board wipe, because not only now are you getting the lore for the goat, you're getting one lore for each of the characters that are banished, and that usually is going to be game, because when a goat comes down, it's usually later in the game when you're like at 16 or 17, and this is going to be more than enough to seal the deal. So yes, it's clunky, it is uninkable, it is 3, but there are circumstances where if you put this thing down, your opponent has to either win
or just
right then and there,
blow up the Vinny.
or they can blow up the Vinny. But they could also blow up the Vinny. But it's 4. It's got 4. So it's got 4.
Okay.
Okay. Granted, they could brawl it, but this is later in the game. All the brawls are used. It'll be fine.
They're gone.
It's gonna be okay.
Got it.
Listen, don't hit me with please. Oh my god, this is a whole topic altogether. Do not hit me with that. Card is bad because of brawl stuff.
No,
okay? I'm tired of this stuff.
No. I'm just interested. So I think it's a funny pick, and I think it's a potentially valid pick. I think it could be a cool tool for aggro decks to kind of close the gap. It reminds me a lot of the Hades that we had in, I don't think it was last set, probably the set before, where
it was 5.
Maybe. Yeah, whenever your characters are banished, you gain 2 lore. This gives me a lot of vibes of that. Obviously, Hades was quite expensive. Vinny is a 3-drop, however, uninkable. That hurts. I feel like in Steel, we're already playing quite a lot of uninkables. If we're on Docks, if we're on, Zeus, if we're on any of this stuff, Storm Rage on. So Vinny is taking up a crucial spot, potentially. And 1/4 body is not the best, but I'll allow it. And we have 1-drops that have that now that are inkable, so I don't know how I feel about it, but And then the effect, the effect during your opponent's turn. That's those 4 words right there. That's a red flag.
Like
that's a red flag right there for me. That's your opponent has control of this card, essentially, is what it tells me.
To be fair, I also like Bagheera, and I get Bagheera vibes from this thing. So
Bagheera is another card that I wish was more playable. And then there is a world that maybe he is. I think post rotation, less options, could potentially be a great card. And maybe Vinny, maybe that's what he's waiting. Maybe his time in the sun is after this rotation, and Vinny's cracked, and he's the new Bucky. Who knows? But
Brawl's rotated. Let's say Brawl's rotated out.
Baby Sisu rotated out.
Yeah, Baby Sisu's rotated out.
Hey, maybe
it's the era of Vinny, baby. Let's go.
It might be Vinny's time, but yeah, I think it's a very when you think Reign of Jafar, I just think it's hilarious that Vinny was the one that was like, oh yeah, I gotta talk about Vinny.
I love Vinny so much. I love weird cards like this though. I'm a big fan of these like awkward
He looks
cards.
like a card you would like. I don't know why. Something about it.
He's all like bent neck, like
he's derped out. All right, and then my last choice for cards is going to be Go-Go Tamago. This is a really cool Emerald Sapphire card that's brand new. It is a Floodborn. It costs 4. It is uninkable, and it shifts for 4, which is kind of interesting. This is the first time that we see a card cost the same as its shift amount. So you might be thinking, why would I ever want to shift it? Well, when you do shift it, you essentially get a Let It Go in a form of a character, and it quests for 2, right? And it's a 3/3, and it's evasive, right? So I'm dying to brew with this card. Emerald Sapphire is a color pairing that I visited back in set 1. Was very basic back then. You would just play Detective Mickey on 3, ramp into your Maleficent on 5. Maleficent was just a vanilla 3/6 that quested for 3, and she would take it to the house, and then once you got enough lore, you play a Cusco. He had Ward that was impossible to deal with back then, and he was giving you 3 lore, and that was the deck. And I had a lot of success.
The good old days.
Yeah, it was so much fun back then. But ever since then, Green Blue has kind of been on the decline. It did kind of find recently some fans in the slower bend to my will style decks. But I really want to make another tempo version, right? I know we can play these slow Ink Geyser decks and all that kind of stuff with the muses and the bouncing, but I really want to make another version of like a high 5 tempo deck where I could just curve out on 4, slam her, tempo you out, almost like a cloud kicker, except that I'm hitting your guy, any guy on the table, not just the not just the 2 costs, whatever. So overall, I'm really excited to brew with Tamago. It does worry me a little because we are in an evasive meta right now. So I feel like everybody's just naturally playing Pans and Iagos and Sharks and cards that handle evasive. So that's kind of my concern. In a world where everybody had different game plans, she was great because you could just kind of quest with her under the radar. But I feel like now everybody that I play, if they're playing purple, no matter what other color they're playing, it's Pan, Iago, Genie, the whole evasive package, which could be potentially problematic for Gogo. But I still think it's a really cool card. I think it's going to be fun to explore. She did get a new shift target as well, which is nice. So she has a new 2-drop in addition to the one that already existed. So multiple targets for her to shift on. So I think that's all good reasons why she might be playable. So what are your thoughts on this card before we move on, Gabe? What do you think?
I love Floodborne characters. I love shifting. Granted, I know when you talk about strategy, it's usually worse off to shift because it means you're losing a character. They're considered a 2-for-1. But anytime that you can be rewarded for shifting a character and you gain benefits, and especially now that I have this beautiful foil Hero Hamada that I can use in my deck.
Let's go.
All right, let's go. All right, now you got to think about the world that exists around Gogo Tamago. With a card like this out, Gogo Tamago is both evasive and ward. So you talk about being concerned about evasive, but even in the color pairing, there is a potential answer that'll let that character deal with those characters. You have to wait a little bit. You have to get to turn 5 to shift hero onto something that can be shifted on. But that is still an answer that you can potentially deal with. And I think that in the color pairing of Emerald and Sapphire, there are ways to mitigate the problem that ward and evasive have that you have to kind of deal with. There's ways around that. You can give yourself these things. I think that green, blue, emerald, amethyst, or emerald sapphire rather. I think that color pairing is going to see a bit of a rise in terms of its popularity. I think where we view it in its tier ship is going to rise in large part because of Gogo and its ability. I imagine like it's the Gogo. You play the Gogo on 2, you play Kit, you bounce something with Kit. On 4, you shift the Gogo, you send something away. So you're able to send something back every turn now, which advances the tempo gameplay. And I think that's a big deal in green blue to be able to do that kind of a tempo play.
For sure.
Makes it very relevant, and I love tempo, as you know. That's why I love Emerald Amethyst.
Yeah,
so
that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping to eventually find some form of tempo build. But we have lots of time, and there are great minds out there with a lot more time than I have that I'm sure are working on different brewers and stuff. So I'm really excited this time of year. This time of, I don't want to say the year because this happens multiple times, but this time in a set's lifespan, I'll say, when the new set's coming out and everybody's crafting and everybody's trying to find out what the new sauce is. And yeah, I think it's really exciting, and I'm excited to see what everybody comes up with. So but yeah, that being said, that brings us essentially to the end of our first episode here. We kind of wanted to keep it short and sweet, so hope you guys enjoyed it. In the future, we mentioned, we want to do different segments, different games we could play, but we wanted to get our feet wet here, just see how things go. There will be improvements over time. Trust me. Right now, this black bar is the only thing on the screen, but we'll have maybe a logo in the future and all that kind of stuff. So there should be a brand new channel. That if you're not you should be watching it on this channel right now, called Voices from the Inkwell. So if you guys wouldn't mind giving us a follow, a subscription, we'd really, really appreciate it. We're brand new. We also have our own platform. So Gabe, I'll let you start. If you just want to plug your own stuff, once you guys are done following us together, if you guys go toss us individually a follow, we'd really appreciate it. Gabe, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm a member of a team called the Illuminati that operates out of South Florida. So you can follow us at Illuminati TCG. We have a Twitch, not quite active yet, but we're working on making that active. We do have YouTube videos that are up as well, so Illuminati TCG there. If you want to follow me on X, that's where I'm mostly on. I'm thinking about expanding out to other platforms, but on X, you can find me by searching ILL _Gabe.
I'll put everything down below as well, just for reference.
Awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, awesome. So those are the places that you can find me. And for now, and I'm stoked. I loved being able to talk about the stuff that we talked about today. I'm excited to continue this. And yeah, like whatever you guys want to hear about or any questions you all have, throw them down in the comment section. Let us know what's up.
For sure, for sure. And then as far as myself, obviously, I do plan on posting here a lot, so definitely follow us here. I know I've already said that, but also my personal channel is First to 20. I mostly upload on X, or not upload rather. I mostly socialize on X, I should say. But I am trying to get better with uploading on my YouTube, which I just posted a brand new video today, so you should go check that out. I'll link it below as well. And yeah, go sub to my channel. We're trying to grow that channel as well. So although Gabe and I, you know, we have independent ventures that we like working on and just kind of keeping our own headspace, we do want to come together at least once a week to kind of, you know, go over stuff, have a good time, just kind of vibe. And we hope you guys are cool with that. So thanks again for coming to our, I guess, episode 0 of our podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed yourself. Hey, Gabe, any final words, any goodbyes you want to say?
No, I hate everybody, so I can't wait to see everybody at SSG so I can destroy them all and get myself a second mat that I will also not be cutting up.
Yeah, and
I threw my phone on the floor.
And now you could tell JDZ that you know, to put some respect on that name. Put some respect.
Put some respect. That's right. JDGs. Don't be talking smack, okay?
Alrighty, guys.
After my ICO loss, I needed this. I needed this after my ICO loss for sure.
Alrighty, y'all. Well, we'll see you on the next episode, and until then, don't forget, ink responsibly. See ya.